It's a Thursday morning in January 2013, and the hallways of Valdosta High School are crowded. Students are slamming lockers, rushing to first period, navigating the ordinary chaos of a typical public high school. But just steps away from that noise, the school's old gymnasium sits in a hollow quiet. And it is in this massive, echoing room where that ordinary morning stops completely. The body of 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found in the corner of this gym. And the immediate circumstances of his death pose a severe logistical question. How does a teenager end up dead inside a rolled-up wrestling mat, right in the middle of a populated school, without a single person noticing? When students first spotted a pair of feet protruding from the top of the upright mat, they assumed it was a joke, someone hiding. But as they pulled the heavy foam back, the reality of the situation came into focus. The school was locked down. Local law enforcement rapidly secured the gymnasium, taping off the corner to begin processing a highly peculiar scene. Kendrick's body was positioned entirely upside down. He was wedged deep inside the hollow, cylindrical center of the heavy gym mat, his head near the floor and his feet pointed toward the ceiling. The timeline of the previous day showed that while he was trapped inside that cylinder, physical education classes and basketball practices were carrying on as normal, right on the other side of the foam. It takes effort to maneuver into a space that tight, and it takes time to succumb to oxygen loss. Yet, in a building packed with hundreds of teenagers and staff, nobody heard a struggle, nobody heard a call for help. The sharp disconnect between a bustling, noisy campus and a completely silent, solitary death immediately made the circumstances difficult to digest. Investigators worked the scene and quickly delivered a definitive conclusion. They ruled the death an accident, specifically citing positional asphyxia. According to the police timeline, Kendrick had been storing a pair of gym shoes inside the rolled-up mats to avoid paying for a locker. Reaching for a shoe, he dropped it down the center opening of an upright mat. To retrieve it, investigators concluded Kendrick climbed the 6-foot mat, diving in head first. Once inside, the rolled foam trapped him. The tight space pinned his arms and compressed his chest, making it physically impossible to expand his lungs or push back up. For local authorities, the physical evidence matched the mechanics of this timeline. They closed the case, officially recording it as a grim, mechanically straightforward freak accident. Kendrick's family immediately rejected that conclusion, arguing the physical layout of the scene made the police timeline impossible. They pointed to the arrangement of the mats. The heavy rolls were clustered tightly together in the corner. If they were packed that densely, how could a teenager physically maneuver to the top and plunge perfectly down the center without knocking them over? Then there was the acoustic problem. The family questioned how a conscious, athletic teenager could become trapped and slowly suffocate over several minutes without making enough noise to alert the students just feet away. The parents held firm. The physics of the accident simply did not add up. As the family's skepticism grew, the local community began formulating alternative theories. Rumors circulated that Kendrick had been assaulted, rolled into the mat to hide the evidence, and that local officials were actively covering up a homicide. Local rallies quickly transformed into a massive public outcry. Within weeks, national news cameras descended on Valdosta, turning the high school gym into the center of a nationwide debate. The unanswered questions regarding the spatial layout and the strange silence of the event hardened. For millions following the case, the official timeline was no longer viewed as a tragedy, but as a fabricated lie designed to protect a killer. Driven by relentless public and political pressure, the case did not stay closed. It was reopened multiple times over the next 10 years, moving through local, state, and federal jurisdictions. The family commissioned independent forensic pathologists who conducted secondary autopsies, returning results that directly conflicted with the state's original ruling of positional asphyxia. Yet, despite the intense scrutiny, official law enforcement agencies, including the Department of Justice, have never deviated from their initial finding. To the state, it remains a tragic accident. Conversely, despite years of private investigations and public accusations, no definitive legal or forensic evidence of murder or a cover-up has ever been validated in a court of law. This leaves an exhausting, impenetrable stalemate.
Two completely incompatible realities, locked in a decade-long standoff. We are left looking at the exact same empty corner where it happened. This case endures as a total, unrecoverable breakdown of trust between a grieving community and the institutions tasked with finding the facts. The story of Kendrick Johnson ends in a terrifying void, a space where logic fails to satisfy, closure is impossible, and definitive truth remains permanently out of reach.